If jazz is dead, these guys skipped the funeral and just kept playing. The Nebraska Jazz Orchestra, as surprised as anyone, the music didn't stop.
Please welcome Ed and the 40th anniversary NGO Reunion Band.
Today's different, special. Some of the alumni who haven't played with the orchestra in decades are here to reclaim their chairs in a one-night-only gig. Five numbers with the blistering brass blast of vintage 70s fusion jazz. A couple of the numbers they hadn't played as a group in 3 decades.
Yeah.
The Reunion Band had one night to get their act together, or rather, back together.
I got in a pawn shop in Omaha for $200.
Returning from Connecticut, music professor and composer Rex Cadwallader took his place behind the upright piano.
We're here for a kind of short, finite time to come in and say hello and to relive a few moments, and that's about all the time we have.
One rehearsal, 90 minutes total.
20 minutes per song if we're doing 5 songs, give or take a few minutes.
I wouldn't have come but for the music, because it's challenging, and I like that. I don't mind embarrassing myself in the effort to better myself.
Dennis Putz Stearns, the orchestra's original rhythm guitarist, traveled from Kentucky, where he owns a llama and alpaca ranch. He got the music 3 days ago.
Daunting. Fear is a wonderful motivator.
This isn't a story about how difficult and risky it was to get the music right. It's actually about how easily a group of old pros fell back in the groove.
There you go. Perfect. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
I take a lot of pride in the fact that the organization is 40 years old.
John Tavlin founded the group. These days, he owns a jewelry store in Lincoln. The 16 musicians he assembled in 1975 quickly won over jazz fans.
A lot of it is the camaraderie, particularly within the section. And, to have a tight section and to instinctively know what the other players are going to do. There's a lot of pleasure in that kind of thing.
Truly remarkable thing about this is, everybody has mentioned, is the longevity of this thing. It's hard enough keeping, a trio together, let alone 18 disparate individuals for 40 years.
Ed Love, the orchestra's energetic sax-playing conductor, gets credit for maintaining the group's musical heartbeat. Any musical challenge having these guys who haven't played a lot?
We'll find out. I mean, they're all good players. They haven't quit playing. I mean, I wouldn't have invited them back. Then at 1:38, this is where all the trumpet players show off every note they've ever learned.
He knows what he wants.
Now,
He has very high expectations, and he should have very high expectations with this group.
And at the same time, he's very light and not heavy-handed at all, and has a wonderful wry sense of humor that always brings a laugh to the rehearsal.
If Tavlin's love of high-energy big band brought the group together, it was often the resident composer who gave the NJO its early voice.
We were looking for rock, primarily, a little taste of the classic jazz, but primarily high-energy rock. It was a sound that we hadn't really ever heard before. As jazz musicians, we had mostly been exposed to the kind of big band music that our parents had listened to.
For the reunion concert, Ed Love chose one of the earliest original pieces written for the orchestra, with an acronym for a title, SOL.
I think that was the second or third thing that I ever wrote for a big band. These guys, in their generosity as young musicians, gave me the opportunity to try out a lot of things, to learn a lot of stuff. It was a huge gift to me.
This speaks to an era. It's very much, in my mind, a vintage piece.
It was kind of me trying to piece together a couple of different musical idioms. You remember the theme from Shaft, a little bit of that kind of harmonic feel where you get big major seventh chords and it's just kind of lush and pretty. And then that disappears and it goes back to the funk thing.
It features, at one point, all the trumpets soloing simultaneously. you can really beat yourself up in big band music if you're a trumpet player. It can be a real challenge.
So tight was the rehearsal schedule, there wasn't even time to run through all the solos. It's jazz. Wing it.
One of the things I've learned over the years with these characters, they're a lot like symphony musicians in that you rehearse to know the music, and then you perform the music at the gig.
All of the things that you do physically to play that music are still in your hands, in your muscles, but you have to find that again because you haven't done it for such a long time.
When we were done, I looked over at Rex, who was sitting next to me. We looked at each other like, what was that? we kind of both made the comment at the same time how what a rush of memories came back at hearing that music, particularly that tune.
It wasn't perfect, but it's amazing how things come together. People usually concentrate pretty well at the concert, so we'll be all right. It'll be fun. And yeah, I like it.
That's why you make music in general, because you're looking for those moments that come all too rarely when you actually achieve a kind of perfection. But sometimes a kind of perfect congruency of events and sound that send shivers up your spine.
These are the guys who were there at the beginning, and this is what we've become. And I think the whole arc of it is something worth celebrating.